Okay, everybody, welcome to the show. I'm Dr. Tony DeLangel coming to you with another episode from the Gonstead Unfiltered podcast. Today we have a very special guest who's been a patient of ours for, we're going on 2 years now.
2 years.
And we have an amazing story, and this is kind of an unexpected story. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about facing your challenges. So this is an amazing story. I'd like to introduce to you guys. This is Kathy Collette. And again, been a patient for quite a while, and she's overcome quite a few obstacles in her life. Kathy was originally a patient of ours beginning in 2021 and came in for some physical things, and you had some success there.
Yes.
But that's not why we're here today. So just a couple of weeks ago, our nurse practitioner came to me and said, "You're not going to believe this. You know, Kathy is completely off of her medications, her antidepressants."
Correct.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that, facing your challenges, facing your demons, facing your weaknesses, those obstacles in life that you think you're never going to overcome. Well, Kathy is here, and she overcame them. So this is an amazing story. We're proud to have you on here. And let's just go right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Obviously, you came here for some physical things, but what kind of led you into seeing our nurse practitioner?
Well, I was feeling like the fatigue.
Uh-huh.
And I was very, very tired and wondering, okay, this is just part of life, part of maturing at my age. And then I heard through Gonstead therapy, excuse me, there was another patient that had said, "Have you tried the Biotin? Have you tried hormone therapy?" And I said, "What is that?" And so I was curious, made an appointment, and I've seen big differences. First of all, the fatigue. All of a sudden, I wasn't looking forward to laying down at 3 o'clock every afternoon because I am an active person. And just keeping my, I feel like what I was educated in the therapy was hormone balance. And that was the first thing that I started really noticing.
So let me ask you this then. And for those of you who can see Kathy here on the video here, how young are you?
How young am I?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. How young are you? It's because, you know, when you guys hear this, it's going to blow your mind.
Thank you. I'm 72.
72 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, there's people in their 40s and 50s who don't have your level of youth. Okay, so you're the type of person who takes very good care of yourself.
Yes.
Okay, and so when you first came in, you had some pain, sure, and you overcame that pain, and you wanted to ride horses as well, correct?
Yes, I rode horses for 14 years, and I wanted to start riding again and not have the pain that I have overcome by therapy, thank goodness, and then walking and just riding a bicycle, doing things that I normally like to do, and go to the gym.
Good. And are you back to doing that kind of stuff?
Yes, I am.
Very
Yes, I
good.
am.
Now, this is a different challenge, right? This
Yes.
is, like you said, the fatigue and things like that. And so at 72 years young, right? And this is what's crazy about this is we just found out about this I just found out about this maybe 2-3 weeks ago, about you getting off an antidepressant, right? And so this is very, very typical for people who are dealing with some level of depression. They hold it in, right? And they may not tell their providers. They may not tell their family or their friends. And so the reason why this is so powerful for you guys is because if you are dealing with depression, don't sit there. There's always something you can do. And Kathy is going to share her story here. And I just want you guys to understand and see the power in this just by facing those challenges and facing those demons. So you saw our nurse practitioner, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and how did that go? Like, what can you? When were you originally diagnosed with depression? Did somebody diagnose you with that, or how did that go?
Yes, actually, I have pretty much dealt with that challenge of depression throughout my lifetime, and I have learned how to not overcome it, but understand it a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that I needed to do something a little bit, looking for medication. Is I was at a point 5-6 years ago that I thought, okay, I can't live like this. I need some professional help. So I did go see a doctor. I was able to get on antidepressants and hoping I could get off of them within a year or 6 months. But it ended up I was on them for 4 to 5 years.
Okay, so on an antidepressant for
Mhm.
about 4 or 5 years. Now, but you've been dealing with this almost your entire life, you said.
Off and on, yes.
Okay, and so how? What kind of symptoms, I guess, were you feeling? You mentioned fatigue, but is there anything else?
Well, the loneliness, the part of your life that you don't really share with other people,
Yeah.
and you wake up with heaviness, and you don't quite know where that's coming from, and maybe moments of tears
Yeah. Sure.
and crying, but then keep on going and help to think of things that help me feel better.
Sure.
But then it was a secret
Yeah.
within myself for many years.
And that seems to be just a common thing. Sometimes it's just you may feel like you're the only one, right? And a lot of people, I think, feel like that. A lot of people may feel that maybe embarrassed by it or whatever the case is. But if you were a fly on the wall with all of the patients that we talk to just throughout the day, I would almost argue that there's more people dealing with some level of that than not nowadays.
Yes.
And so the fact that you were able to reach out to somebody like that speaks a lot about who you are as a person, because a lot of people don't, and so it's important that you understand that. So, okay, so we were dealing with all that for 4 to 5 years, and you were taking the medication, and then you mentioned you heard from somebody else about the BioT.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how was your experience with the nurse practitioner?
Oh, she's amazing. Makes you. She really listens when you're talking to a physician, doctor. Sometimes you think you're just maybe another number on their plan for the day, but with her, I felt like she took me very seriously and wanted to help me.
Yeah.
In we can do this. She would just say, "Oh, we can help you."
Yeah.
And that was huge for me to hear that.
So Sally, our nurse practitioner, she is amazing. The reason why she is here is because she kind of got tired of dealing with that whole medical system of, okay, you've got 10 minutes, that's it, and you need to see X number of people and so forth, and so that's why she's here with us, is because she believes in the mission of what we're trying to accomplish by changing the way healthcare is delivered, so people don't have to suffer anymore. And so to hear that just it makes me happy. So let's just go back to maybe 5 years ago. What were some of your goals during that time? So what was your experience like? Did they just when you saw your primary care provider over this, and what were your options?
Well, actually, I went beyond the primary care doctor and had appointments with a psychiatrist, a therapist, and it got to a point to where we were just doing video because of the COVID, especially 2 years ago, and or else just talking on the phone. But basically, I think I was just had to go through the appointments so my prescriptions would be up to date, so I could keep getting the medication. And so it was just a ritual of, this is what you do to get your medication.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, you had to go to the appointments just so that way you can keep getting the antidepressant.
Well, sure, I felt that way.
Okay. But was anything like with therapist? That was on video, though, right?
Video or a phone call.
Okay.
Because
And
I
because of
had
COVID.
moved out of state and she was in a different state, so I kept trying to keep those appointments, and we would chat a bit,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
how I was feeling,
Okay.
or feeling like I felt like I still needed to tell her I felt like I still needed to be on them.
Sure. Something just didn't feel right.
I had fear that it was going to come back.
Yeah.
I had fear that that darkness, I didn't want it to come back.
Yeah. So a long time ago when I was in chiropractic school, I'll never forget, I was sitting in class and all of a sudden my heart started to race and you get that tunnel vision and all of a sudden you start to shake and I didn't know what it was at the time. I thought it was a heart attack and it turned out to be an anxiety attack.
Yes.
And that was the first time, if you guys have never had something like that happen in your life, it is the scariest thing because you think you're dying, right? And I remember during the time they were like, well, you just need to get on an antidepressant and some type of anti-anxiety medication. And I never did. It's just like, okay, that's not going to fix this problem. And so, going through something like this and just having to go to, a consultation or an appointment just to keep up with your meds, it's like that's not the solution to your problem, right? And so is that how you felt, or?
Yes, and it was, the questions were, well, we'll keep you on this prescription, this level. We might need to increase it, or we might need to change a brand. And I had always felt like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find other ways, but yet I was in this spiral of continuing to take the medication just for all those years, being afraid to stop.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to, or to try it to see if I was, and basically feeling better through the physical therapy I was doing here at Godstead's, and I knew that the pain in my body was getting better, and I thought, okay, my ability, my attitude is uplifted, so why not try? And then, of course, with Sally and the hormone balance, she had brought up that it could possibly help with depression. And I didn't mention it very often. I said, well, by the way, I am on antidepressant medication. Oh, okay. Well, just continue on. But then when you feel like you want to stop, and I didn't even really tell her or tell anyone I was going to stop.
Yeah.
I had a few more little pills, and I thought, no, I'm not going to renew my prescription. And it was easier than I thought.
So let me ask you this. How long were you doing? So for those of you who are not familiar with BioTE, basically what we do is we draw your blood. And in a normal setting, in a normal medical setting, what they do is they say, okay, they look at your hormones, and as long as you fall within a reference range, then what ends up happening is they say you're normal. But deep down inside, kind of like what you're talking about, it's like something just doesn't feel right. And if everything looks normal on the blood test, that's it. Well, that's it. A lot of times doctors are telling patients, well, it could be in your head or whatever the case is, when in reality, that's not that's not getting to the root cause. So what we do is when we draw your blood, we're looking to see what's optimal and how do we optimize your hormones. So it doesn't fall within a reference range. It falls within, okay, what do we have to do to make you feel like you're 20 years old again, right? That's what we want to do, is optimize the hormones to bring back that youth, to bring back that vitality in your body. And so that's what we did. And then how long were you taking BioTE before you started to say to yourself, I don't want to renew my prescription?
gosh, maybe the 4 to 6 months. First of all, I started feeling much better, the fatigue and thyroid. She was able to detect that I had a low level of thyroid, and I had gone to a normal or a doctor, and everything seemed to be, the balance seemed to be fine. No, your thyroid's fine. Well, she detected it was low,
Yeah.
and the low thyroid was also causing the fatigue.
Yes.
And I felt excited that this therapy of the pellet could help that. And I felt it pretty quickly, within 2 weeks,
Yeah.
that I would have more energy.
Yeah.
And then taking the medication of thyroid level, that's amazing.
Well, what I find amazing is the fact that within a couple of weeks you felt energy.
Mm-hmm.
But even 4 to 6 months, and that's something that you've been dealing with almost your entire life. 4 to 6 months is nothing, right? And
Correct.
so the fact that you said to yourself, okay, maybe I don't need this antidepressant anymore. That to me, so what happened at that point? Did you just stop yourself, or did you maybe talk to your therapist about it, or talk to Sally about it, or anything like that?
No, not really. I know when I was with Sally, at the beginning, she was very confident or hopeful that I could someday get off of the antidepressants. And I didn't mention it very often to her, except my last appointment. I said, oh, by the way, I'm not taking my antidepressants anymore. You aren't? For how long? I don't know. It's probably been about 4 months, something. And how's that going? I said, really great. I don't feel like I need them anymore.
That was probably the day where she was
Yes.
almost doing cartwheels throughout the clinic here and telling me about it. She was almost in tears because of that. So
And I
it's
didn't
just-
realize how important that was
Yes.
for the technology of this type of therapy that can help a person like myself, or it put light on the whole situation. I thought, well, okay.
Yeah. That's and because of the world we live in, just because of how toxic our food is and just how toxic everything is around us, I don't think we have so much of an overeating problem or anything like that. I think we have a toxicity problem, and it's leading to things like obesity and people just being overweight, depression, and things like that. And it's like, okay, how do we basically live in congruence with nature's laws? Meaning, okay, what are you toxic with? What are you deficient in? And are you getting out into the sun? Are you doing all these different things? Are your hormones optimized? Like, how do we do this? How do we fix the gut? How do we do all of these things to give you that piece of your life back that you're looking for? And so what makes this so powerful is depression is probably the number one thing out there that is just escalating right now. I mean, it's escalating. And so everyone's dealing with it. So we have to get to the root cause of what that actually is. Is it just because I feel a certain way, or is it because maybe there's a toxicity problem? What is it? And you took all the avenues, and it was really you who reached out to do it. It wasn't really us saying, hey, you need to do all this stuff. It was really you. You were proactive with your health. And that's what it takes to change your life. And you were willing to do that. So it's important you understand that, because everything that happens to you is because of you, and your life has now taken a turn for the better because of what you did. That's the cool part about this. So did you have any doubts going through that BioT program? So the BioT is basically, once we figure out what your lab results are and we try to optimize your hormone, there's a pelleting procedure that we do where we put our nurse practitioners will put those pellets into the glute underneath the skin, and it's basically time released, where you don't have to be in here every single day or anything like that, but just 2-3 times throughout the year, this pelleting procedure will help balance and optimize your hormones. And so Did you have any doubts when you first started with that? Just the whole, like, if it was going to work or anything like that?
No, after reading the literature, and of course, with Sally just being so excited that she could help people like myself, and at the age of in my 70s, I thought, well, okay, it's just normal to be aging, but I want to help my body as much as I can, and like you said, keeping up with exercise and diet. But I knew that, well, that I needed some help internally.
Yeah, and believe it or not, that's most people nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny, about maybe 15 years ago now, I remember telling patients at some point, everyone's going to have to find a way to detox their bodies just because everyone's just going to be so toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. It's literally everybody has to find ways to detox their bodies. Otherwise, that's going to build up, and it's leading to these different things here. So it's pretty crazy. So, all these little things matter. Okay. So what little things do you notice now in your life that, now that you're off the medication, like what are some of those things that you can notice now that maybe you took for granted, back in the day, that now it's all of a sudden it's like, I'm so glad this is back. Is there anything in particular? Like,
Yes, there's a type of joy that you have, just awareness that I'm okay,
yeah,
and problems with maybe anger that I don't have that anger.
that is so awesome. That's so awesome because you see so many patients come in all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in pain or when you're suffering in some capacity, you're not yourself. Okay.
No.
And we have to constantly remind ourselves, okay, they're angry right now. It's not directed towards us. It's just something, they're suffering with something. We have to constantly remind ourselves of that. So the fact that you said now there's this sense of joy that you're experiencing where you don't have that anger, that underlying anger.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like this fire inside of us that we don't know how to put out that brings on that anxiety or that depression and things like that. And so when things start to calm down and you start to put that fire out in your body, all of a sudden that anger, that anxiety or that depression start to go away.
And it's that frustration. And actually, if you would talk to friends or family, they wouldn't know that about me. There was two sides of me,
Yeah.
and the one that I kept to myself.
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't like that Kathy. I wanted the joyful Kathy, the one that I know who I really am.
You wanted that piece of your life back. And here's what's so powerful about this story is there's so many people out there who are saying the same things right now. They're saying the same things to themselves. Like, I'm living this life where there's like almost two different personalities, and people know me as this, and I want them to see me as this, but deep down inside, this is what I'm suffering with.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you out there who can click with this message, who can click with this story, just know there's always a solution. And if it takes a therapist to talk to, then do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Reach out to somebody to get this off of your chest. But at the same time, understand if your body is not in balance, if your body is just internally on fire in some way, shape, or form, there's a root cause to how we feel and why we feel the way we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that you reached out, you're 72 years young. You look great. Okay. You look great. And you're facing those demons, you're facing those challenges in your life to overcome those obstacles to get that piece of your life back that you haven't had in a while, right?
Right.
So what would you say to maybe other women or even other people who may be dealing with depression? Maybe they're on antidepressants, maybe they're suffering and they just know they don't feel like themselves because of those antidepressants. What would you tell them?
look deeper into how can you help yourself. Like I knew I needed to help myself, not only mentally but physically, health-wise, just internally, that I could help my body, my mind, my through the type of therapy that actually I got introduced to, and so happy
Yeah.
that I could.
Yeah. And what brings joy to me for this story
Mhm.
is the fact that you had a team willing to do what it took to help you. There was the physical part,
Mhm.
there was the chemical part, there was the internal part, all of that. You can't just focus on one thing and expect somebody's life to change. We want to do life altering things. We want to give people a piece of their life back so they can enjoy it again. And the only way to do that is by dropping egos and working as a team to do what's best for the patient.
And I certainly felt that here. An amazing teamwork. The overall of all the staff that helps me, but my physical therapy here was not like anything I've ever had before. It was like having a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And that was wonderful. But then with Sally, I feel she's a personal, therapist for my body,
Yeah.
just taking care of who I really want to be.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's we only go as far as the strength of our entire team. So that brings joy just hearing you say that. But our entire team is so good. I'm so proud of them. If you guys are listening to me, I'm so proud of you. Just because these types of stories are really what make this whole thing like worth it. It makes the entire thing worth it when people get a piece of their life back like that.
Yes.
So, now, is there anything else that you'd like to add just before we finish off here?
Well, I would just say, do yourself a huge favor, love yourself, and take care of yourself, and look into things that can help you be who you really want to be.
Oh, that's powerful. I love that. Well, Kathy, thank you very much. Folks, I hope you really enjoyed this story. These are the types of stories that come throughout our office all the time, but this one was extremely powerful because this is something that the world really is kind of suffering with right now. And Kathy here is a proven fact that you can absolutely overcome it. All it takes is taking that first step and facing your challenges. So we hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you always have questions, always feel free to reach out to us at any time. If you guys know people who are suffering with something similar to this, we ask that you please share this with others so that way we can continue to change the way healthcare is delivered so people don't have to suffer anymore. But until next time, folks, we'll see you then.